What's up, everybody, and welcome to another Seven Figure Photographer Live. I am finally back. Mia's got her audio on. You gotta plug in your AirPods.
They're on.
Today, finally, Mia messed up instead of me. It's been a long time. So, honestly, how long has it been since I've done a live? It's been a real long time. And I apologize for that. It's been a year. Well, I'm not saying it's been a year. I'm just saying it's been an interesting period of time into the season, yes. And so I obviously have had lots going on and haven't done a great job of even letting you know that we weren't doing lives. Half the time I didn't know until I forgot that I didn't do the live. So today I'm excited, reinvigorated, excited to share with you some new things that I had the opportunity to learn. And really, not even necessarily so much learn, but just an opportunity to kind of refresh my mind with things and to see some different insights. So today, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about better time management through routines, and I'm super excited. So let's get this party started. What's up, guys? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sam Marvin, and I have been in the photography industry for 25 plus years. While I love being a creative, business is my passion, and elevating the industry of photography is my focus. I created the Seven Figure Photographer to share my journey to seven figures and help others find their way too.
That's amazing.
Okay, so there you have it. For those of you who are joining us now, please make sure to comment. Let us know who's here watching. We always love to know who we're hanging out with and who we're talking to. I'm going to actually pull this over just a little bit, make sure that I have a better... Are you hearing me okay through there? Okay, perfect. I don't have anything on mute this time or anything like that, but nice. Welcome, Carly. Glad to have you here. So, a little background where I've been. It feels like I haven't been to work even forever, but...
Should I comment at this point?
No, you don't need to comment on that one. Mia doesn't think that I do anything anymore. She just thinks that I'm lazy and never work. What's up? Thompson Photography and Design. Darren from North Carolina. Good to hear from you, Darren. Haven't talked to you in a long time. Hopefully I'll get to see you at Sync. Tim Goetz. Look who decided to show up. What a punk. All right, I'm done. I'm done for the day. I'm just kidding. So I actually spent the last week in Texas, down in Houston, to be exact, or in an outlying town of Houston. And so I had a really fun, unique opportunity to get to sit down with one of our 7F peers. That's a weird way to say it, but Kelly Booth. And I got to literally spend a whole week with her and just kind of go through her business and look at like all the things that she's doing, and see things she's doing well, things she could use a little help on. And it was just a unique experience. We got to do Christmas minis with her, which is another thing that I'll definitely update you guys on, because I put, did you notice that I put all the information into the, I put it into the Christmas mini spreadsheet that we created last year.
One?
Yeah.
Just as a new page?
Yeah, I created a new page and put it in there. So anyway, so yeah, one of the things that, well, there's two things that I've seen, no matter where I go, no matter who you are, the number one thing that I hear from photographers is, I just don't have time. And what is the one thing that, like, I hate excuses. Like, that's like the biggest excuse I hear everywhere I go. And honestly, I get it. I understand what it's like to be overworked and underpaid. I get what it's like to overstretch your calendar. And honestly, I gotta say, like, I've had it pretty good this year, because like there's a lot of things, and I realize, like, we have routines that have been set, and like things that have been done that, like, I don't even pay attention to. Like, for instance, Mia doesn't ever schedule me sales sessions on Saturdays or Sundays. And it was one of those things, like, I think I mentioned this a while back. Like, I didn't even really realize it until, like, we'd gone through the year, and I was like, man, I haven't worked any Saturdays or Sundays this year, except for occasionally I'll schedule a session, like a family session on a Sunday evening or something like that. But that was like, in a lot of ways, that was some routine that took place. That was because Mia knows that, like, I don't want to work Saturdays and Sundays, and she doesn't just kind of do it. She's like, she doesn't offer it. She doesn't give people the opportunity. And so, like, some of those things really just, I think I had more time this year, not so much because I wasn't wanting to work or anything like that. There's just a lot more of our stuff really does run
streamlined
under a routine. And so, the downfall to that is that sometimes, like, other people see it and think that, like, I mean, I get self-conscious about how much I go fishing or how much I do whatever. Mia hates the fact when I'm out of the studio and I'm not here when she's working.
Yes.
She doesn't like to work alone.
No.
And so she's somewhat critical of me, butthole, when I'm out. But the reality is that we really do have pretty much everything running in a way that, isn't that kind of the whole goal in life, is to be able to do that? Yeah, so.
It's like passive work.
But, yeah, passive work. But the thing like I said, the thing that I hear from so many people, so many photographers, is I just don't have time for that. I hear about sales sessions. I hear, when I talk to photographers and I say, you need to bring in in-person sales. You need to sell product. And I hear, in fact, I was on a Facebook page this morning, and I saw somebody complaining about having to deal with product. Like, they were complaining, like, they were annoyed and tired of dealing with having to, like, deal with product and ship product. And I was like, well, that's, like, those are things that you could have, like, you can create systems for and have people do. Like, you don't have to be doing that yourself. But they were concerned about, well, it just costs me more money out of my pocket. Well, just build that into your cost, like, or charge extra for shipping, that kind of stuff. So ultimately, like I said, one of the biggest challenges and the things that I hear from photographers all the time are excuses about time. And what I wish people would start saying, I really wish people, in fact, if you guys ever want to give me the excuse of I don't have time, just stop for a second and say to me, you know what, Sam, I suck with my time. And so therefore I can't accommodate that. Because that's really what it is. Like, if you don't have time, then you're, one, not doing things right, or B, you're not prioritizing, like,
I think it's more that.
Your time. And I think that all too often it's because people don't have routine. And I kind of, like, I have to step back and look at this and say, okay, do you really have routine? Like, do I?
Are you asking me? I do.
Well, I'm not asking you. You can just go jump in a lake. By the way, for those who don't know, Mia is here. Say hi, Mia. I forgot to introduce you.
I'm going to go jump in a lake now.
Mia is here. It would be a cold lake to jump in today. I would prefer to go fishing on the lake. But anyway, Mia is here with us today. That's who, she's giving me some insight in the background. But routine is something that we all do. And I think that what's surprising is we all have routine, but sometimes we don't have refined routine, or sometimes we don't follow our routine very well, or consistent. And I think that, one thing that you can do to really help yourself in time management is to establish more defined routine. Like, actually take the time to write it down or record what your routine is. I know for me, and this is one of those things that I go to on a regular basis, and a lot of this, obviously most of this is coming from last month's business book of the month. We're halfway into December, and I still haven't assigned a business book of the month.
Actually, I assigned it for you last month.
Mia assigned the business book of the month last month, so we're good. What is the business book of the month this month?
Eat that frog.
Eat that frog. Okay, so anyway, But from last month's book, Essentialism, I've re-listened to a couple of chapters over and over again, and I keep going back to the routines, the small wins, focusing on creating small wins that you can celebrate on a regular basis, or having routines that carry you through the day. Now, I obviously have some routines. Everything that we do, we have some routines. But sometimes those routines are just, would you say subconscious? Like
probably, yeah.
And I think that one of the things that I really landed on heavily last week is just being intentional. Like, make sure that everything you do with intention. Like, does it fit within my routine, or am I just kind of going by the wayside? Now, one fun one, I think I talked about this last time. One of the most defined routines I have in my life, and it starts out good in the beginning of the day. But then after that, it's like, there's a lot of it that's not like, it's routine, but it's not like well defined. But my routine in the morning, I get up, I shower. In the shower, I always like shampoo first, conditioner, then body wash. Like, because it doesn't matter why. It's just, that's my routine. I get out, I dry off, I shave first, because I don't like to use shaving cream. I shave first, I brush my teeth. Now I'm trying to think here. Brush my teeth, and then and then I flex in the mirror and say, "You sexy hunk of burning love." That is not actually what I do. I used to do that as a kid, but then I put deodorant on, and then I get dressed. Right. So that's kind of my routine. I'm sorry for the mental picture that you all have of me now.
I just got it.
Hopefully you suck to just me flexing in the mirror, but that's like my one established routine, and I'm really very, very specific about that routine. Like, I don't like to switch it up. I don't like to brush my teeth before I shave, because then the hair it gets harder. Because if I get out of the shower, it's soft, and I don't use shaving cream. I just scrape that shit off my face. So typically, the whiskers are a lot softer there because of the water. They're warm, so it just works easier. And I don't like to mix up that routine. But altogether, I am it's a well-oiled machine with that. I know, every day, if I get up, I got to do these things, and it's going to take me this long before I can get out the door and be done. I've had to create routine in taking medications and those different things. And I think that we all do create routines, but they're just not necessarily defined. And when they're not defined, we have a tendency to skip those routines, or to not pay attention to the routines, or to half-ass those routines.
Well, and I think sometimes you associate routines with just like that, like personal hygiene or exercise or food, and not necessarily at work. I think that's something that people don't really think about in that regards. Yeah.
And I think the best way to do it, and I wake up on a Saturday and a Sunday, and I'm like, I hate the monotony of the routine, get up, shower, shave. It gets boring. It feels boring. Mm-hmm. So Saturdays and Sundays, I'm like, I don't want to go through that routine, but I do it anyway. That's just I don't not shower. That just is not a thing. It's part of how I start my day. It's how I wake up. It's how, and so it's not, for me, it's one of those things that's not really negotiable. Yeah, every now and then I'll something will change my routine. I'll have to jump up and run Rylan to school, or run and take him to something, and all of a sudden my routine is disrupted, and then my whole day is disrupted. But when it comes to time management and some of the things that we create, one thing that I've noticed with people is that we don't have time because we're constantly chasing what we were supposed to have done a long time ago. Yeah. Because we aren't using routines. Here's a perfect example of one. And sometimes I think that, and this is where like last week, I was kind of trying to decide, okay, at what point does a routine become a system? Or is a routine a system? Technically, they're all systems. And maybe it's more that routines are things that exist in our personal life, whereas systems exist in our business. I don't know. But either way, I think that they can synonymously be called the same thing, systems or routines. Maybe I'm incorrect. If any of you have any input on that or want to share that, feel free to. I'm not tied to either one. But creating those systems is also vitally important because it allows things to take place quickly. Now I'm going to throw Kelly under the bus on this one. And she might be mad at me about it. I already asked her last week about it. I was like, can I share some of the things from my week with her? And one of the things that I noticed was that we were logging into a lot of Kelly's accounts, right? And like, for instance, Tave and Trello and different things like that. And so I would log into her accounts, and almost every single time I would say, what's your password for this? And her response was, and this is her routine. This is her routine. She's like, I don't know, just forgot my password. So we literally changed her password on...
Sorry, Kelly, I didn't mean to laugh so hard.
On numerous accounts. And I was like...
I guess that's one way to like keep your password fresh.
Yeah, but like, how do you keep coming up with passwords? Like that just like drive me bonkers. But like, I started to look at it and I was like, okay, how much time is wasted every time we have to wait for the email to come through? Like, we have to come up with a new password, then we have to write it down.
Write it down
hopefully somewhere. And you know, I even started to think about it because I have like my passwords sometimes saved in different places. Yeah. But I was like, okay, how can I make this process easier? A lot of what I do is like, I probably shouldn't tell everybody in the world this, but I have like the notes in my iPhone, and then I have it as a locked note.
Yes, mine's just on a sheet of paper.
And then I pin it to the top of the page, and it allows me to go in. Tim says I just use the same password for everything, and if I have to change it, I just add a star to it or something like that. But still, you still end up with times where you're logging into something, and you're like, okay, was it this password? Was it this password? Was it this password? I did this last year for Print Comp here in Idaho. I had to print something off, and so I had to go to the hotel computer, and I had to remember my Apple ID, which for some reason is one that I always I struggle with. But then I also have multiple email addresses. Yeah, and that makes it challenging. And I couldn't remember it, so I ended up having to reset it just because of that specific situation. And it, the amount of time that you waste. Now, look at everything else in your business. What other things in your business lack routine or system that could effectively buy back time for you? Some of them, and I think, one of the things that I realized last week was that I know Mia beats me up a lot about things, and she was like last week, she's like, you think I'm a bad person? When we were talking about this, because I realized last week that my business really does have a crazy amount of systems in place. Now, mind you, where I fail is that oftentimes I don't enforce people using the systems. They get lax, and so I do a poor job of managing the systems, really. That's what it is. They all still fall within a system, and when you look at it as compared to many other businesses, it's quite impressive. When you really look at it and compare. Again, the biggest thing about comparing, who was it that says compare till you despair or something like that. Yeah. And that really is true. Don't try to compare your business to another business. But it's interesting because I did have an opportunity to compare a lot of things about my business to Kelly's business. But I realized that my biggest challenge is in time management. Guys, the first thing that I want you to understand is I'm no saint when it comes to time management. Mia will be the first to tell you that. I think that 99% of us suck at time management. But if you're constantly trying to get better, I think that is huge value. But ultimately, if you can improve little things to create more time, then do it. Like, create new routines or new systems. Again, we're kind of combining them both. Create new systems that will allow you to be more intentional about your time. And I think that that's really vital, because ultimately when you really start to dive in and you identify that you have no routine, no system, no nothing, the thing that I saw a lot with Kelly was that in certain aspects of her business, she was paralyzed because she had her system for doing it. I do this a lot too. When there's something that I don't like doing, then I either avoid it or it just gets. Here's a novel one. I hate mail.
Oh dear.
Mia spends so much time weekly just going through opening mail. And in fact, we talked about this not too long ago. We created a new system for this, which has been nice, and I need to do better on my end about it. But for the first time in forever, we actually have, I don't think we have any mail sitting on our desks right now.
No.
And that's nice, because let me tell you, like, we've had times where the stacks were like...
Yeah, and he would put one more on and the whole thing would be like...
And it would fall over. So we created a new routine for how to deal with...
the paper end of it.
The paper end. And it's been freeing altogether, just because it creates a cleaner environment, which improves my mood. I'm sure it improves your mood. And I think that really just knowing that there's a routine for how we deal with something, because there was literally nothing. We didn't have anything for mail other than it just got stacked on your desk.
Yeah.
And there wasn't even an understanding of how, like, what got thrown away. It was just stacked on your desk, and it made your desk look messy. And then sometimes it got stacked over here, or you would open it for me.
I would open it.
You would open it for me, and then it would just become a flat sheet of paper, and it was piling up over here. And so that's probably a poor example of one that's going to buy us time, but it does. It saves us money in a lot of other ways. It saves us a lot of effort in other ways. But there's also routines that can save you time. One of which, like, for instance, just like our culling system. I can't cull images to save my life.
No,
I fall
can't.
asleep, right? So how often, if I'm trying to do that work, am I doing it? I fall asleep, and then I come back to it. I do some more. I fall asleep. That's a lot of time wasted. How many things in your business do you do that you just absolutely hate doing, and so they get put off for a long period of time? And that's what I was kind of saying about this year. Like, this year, I did a lot less of the shit that I hate. I really did.
I know.
Which sucks for Mia, because it just means that she gets to do more of the shit that I hate. But it's different in that aspect. So, creating routines, I think, is really the key or the secret to generating better time management. Because when you can take a 10,000 foot view or look at anything you're doing in your business or in your life and identify, okay, this is costing me a lot of extra time, or this is something that I don't like to do, or this is something that I'm really good at, then, like, how can you add those things or take those things in your business and make them better? What if you look at any one thing, and anybody that wants to give an example of something that you hate or that you don't get done well, give me an example. One of the things that we do, and I think that I have really messed things up with for the last couple of months is one of my routines that I've tried to really establish is making sure that every morning the first things that I do is I go through my Trello and I look at all of our to-do list and I find stuff that I can take off there because I hate having stuff on my to-do list. In fact, I hate it so much that I kind of avoided it all year. Mm-hmm. I literally just avoided it because there was stuff.
And know what I need to
do. So I just didn't look at it. But creating the routine for every morning to just sit down and look at my to-do list, and I'm sure Mia feels like, I'm pretty sure everybody feels like I'm beating up on them, but I'm just literally going through and I'm saying, hey, is there an update for this? Is there an update for this? Just keeping it a constant thing. And so by creating that routine, I have a little bit of a pulse on what's going on with my business every day at the very beginning of the day, instead of wondering. And I can't tell you how many times I've said, something's happened and Mia says, you need to do this. And I'm like, did you put it on Trello? And she's like, yeah, it's on there. Well, I'm glad you put it on Trello. I didn't look at Trello.
Yeah, it's been a month.
So again, it's just routine. And it saved me a lot of time, or I've accomplished a lot of things. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things is like, I have things on my Trello that I've wanted to accomplish for a long time, but they're just like, they're big tasks. And so, maybe I have to create a new routine for how I deal with those bigger items, whatever it is. But ultimately, what I want you guys to recognize here today is that when listen to yourself. I want you to hear and maybe even count how many times in a day do you say, I just don't have enough time to do that, or I don't have time, whatever it is. Why don't you have time? Do you not have time because you're not willing to do things that make your life easier or make it so you have more time? And I'm guessing that's probably a lot of it. Or maybe you don't have time because you're forced to do things that take up a lot of time because you haven't looked at the possibility of creating a better routine that might, or a better system that might work with that. Creating workflows, which is same thing, routine, workflow systems, creating workflows, just identifying, okay, what are the different stages of it? One of the things that we did the other day with Dan, who is Kelly's husband, he asked me, he's like, well, give me an idea of what you do, draw it out, give me a roadmap. Or he said, give me, something. And so I pulled out the customer journey, the roadmap, and he's like, oh my gosh, this is great. Michelle says outsourcing and editing, and that's exactly right. Like, one of the biggest things that we did with Kelly was we identified that, hey, one of her biggest holdups was just getting cards uploaded and backed up and ready for sales sessions, and then getting sales sessions done. And so we just created a new system or a new routine that allows her to just upload those and have them taken care of and get them back when they're ready for sales session. And then all she has to do is have the sales session and then send them back off for editing. So creating those routines probably freed up, and it freed up huge amounts of her time. But the hard thing was the amount of time that she was literally spending just trying to remember what she needed to do, and then avoiding some of those little tasks because she hated doing them. And so by just offloading that, it made everything altogether better.
Can I jump in on that part?
Yeah, go for it.
Because I think one of the things that people run into a problem with, and I notice this just because doing everything with social media, but if your routine is overly complex, or you've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G to get to the end point, you're going to get paralyzed within that. It needs to be very simple. Even just Monday, I'm doing Facebook. That's it. It doesn't have to be any more complex than that. And then Tuesday, I'm doing Instagram. And if you can batch them in that regard, you can get through it a lot quicker. Yeah. I think people have a problem when their routines become so complex and so involved they just get paralyzed, and it doesn't do them any good to have that. So
well,
keep
and
it really, really simple.
a lot of times they're either like they've set the routine, but they haven't necessarily like put it down on paper or identified it.
Or know what to do within it.
I think one of the best routines that we created like 2 years ago that has really helped our time was that we went to shooting Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and our Mondays are supposed to be our admin days, and Fridays are potential to take them off. And we do oftentimes not do nearly as much on Fridays, and we kind of take off early. But that was one of those things that with Kelly, and I see this with so many photographers, is we have a tendency to cave to what people ask for. And people ask for things because they don't know what's out there. For instance, a lot of photographers think that the only time that they can work and be a photographer is on the weekends, because people ask, well, do you have a weekend available? They're just testing the waters. They just want to know. We do all of our business Monday through Friday, and mostly Monday through Thursday. And so when you can create a routine for, hey, Mondays we do admin days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are shoot days, and Fridays are cleanup days. That's what we do, and that's the system that I actually was helping Kelly and Dan with to establish, just to create some separation from work and home life. What are you giggling about over there?
William's trying to get out of the house without telling his sisters.
Oh, shoot. So anyway, again, it's just identifying like why do you not have time? Like, what is it that you don't have, or why is it that you don't have time? And dive deep. Identify, like, this is kind of like the from the book, Fix This Next. Identify what it is that's really causing you to not have time. And I'll bet money that if you get down to it, you don't have a good system or a good routine for how you do certain things. Or you're allowing, and this really gets into where you start to have bottlenecks in your business, you're allowing things that paralyze you to stop you from moving forward. And that really, there's so many things that are created when you slow the process down, and it takes longer for customers to see their pictures, and longer for people to get stuff back from seeing pictures or ordering. Like, that all eats into your experience, and clients start to, when it takes, I've noticed that when we have clients that come in longer and longer out from their sales or from their session, sometimes it's typically harder, because it's almost that gone and forgotten concept in their mind. Like, oh, well, this was so long ago, we're not excited about it anymore. So much of sales in this world is taking advantage of people, like, not taking advantage of people, but taking advantage of the emotion, the excitement of something. Just like for me, anytime I want to buy something, like, if I can get past that emotion of it, like wanting to have it, needing it to be there, a lot of times that can be eliminated. Like, I can get past it just because the emotion's not there. And so often I buy stuff. There's something the other day that I found. I was like, why the hell did I spend money on this? This thing. I was like, why did I buy this? I know that I'm not going to spend time recording.
I was going to say, I could tell you why you told me you bought it.
Well, I know why and I still could use it. I like to have things so that I can.
Yes,
this is what it is. It's a little thing to make my phone easier to hold. It's pretty. It's nice.
And
I
we're
had
detracting.
to have it. Anyway, my point is that I avoided the emotion of that one for a long time. It's, when you can keep the experience better, keep it faster, ultimately that's what routine's going to do. It's going to speed up the process for you and for your client. And when you can have that system or that routine to move people through that experience, it's going to be so much easier for you. You're going to be able to, and let's back up a bit, because a lot of, what are you giggling about?
I was just going to jump in, but then you
okay,
were backing
well,
up.
yeah.
Keep going, back up.
So backing up, there's a lot of you who are in the port or the point of your business where there may not be enough to create really good routines, because you're like, well, I haven't experienced, like, I may not have consistent customers, or I may not have, but which the best part about that is to establish the routines now, because you don't have, like, for us to establish a routine,
it's a pain in the butt.
It's a pain in the butt. It's a lot of effort. Like, we're trying to establish a new routine for our son at home, and it's like one weekend and I'm already ready to give up.
Don't give up.
Because it's like, yeah. So, for those of you that aren't in a position to necessarily have, like, if you're thinking, well, I don't need that because Sam, like, has a bigger business or whatever, still establish the routines now. Establish a routine for everything in your life, because it will help you manage your time altogether better, because you're going to be more efficient about everything you do. When you have a routine, it creates efficiency. And that's ultimately, imagine trying to do the same thing over and over and over again, all with different steps. Like, you know, I've seen this a lot back in the lab, like trying to do new things in different ways and not ever establishing a routine, and they end up becoming things that we just don't ever do. So what were you going to say?
I think a lot of times, looking from an outside standpoint with the burnout thing we kind of talked about, when you have a routine and you know, like, today I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z, and within that, these are the compartments that I'm fulfilling, you don't have to make decisions. So at the end of the day, you can go home and you don't have that burnout of, like, I have one more decision to make because I've had to decide how to do this and what time to do this. When it's all already categorized out for you, it just eliminates that extra brain power, I guess.
Yeah.
And
decision fatigue is a real deal.
It lets you focus and go on. And I think, again, to what you were saying about people at a point in their business, like, thinking that they're not at the same level as you, but everybody has a different amount of time they spend, like, on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is. But if you make that routine, if every day it's 15 minutes on Instagram, you can find something to do on your Instagram page for 15 minutes. And then when that time's up, move on. And as your business grows, you still have that routine. And then maybe it becomes more complex. Maybe that 15 minutes on Monday is finding new followers or something like that. But you can build the routines, but get that foundation started.
So another flip side to this, I do like routines, especially I just like things to be, like, easier and to work without me having to have a finger on it, right? Sometimes I get to the point where I trust too much that people are doing things, and then they get out of control and it's a nightmare, right? There's also the side, and I'm sure there's plenty of you out there in the creative aspect, where sometimes those routines feel so monotonous. Like, the thought of having my whole everything planned out drives me nuts. And so there is that aspect to things. Like, but you can
put that in your routine too. You can have, like, Fridays are our day off, so that's part of your routine.
Well, yeah, I have created, like, a lot of those routines, but then all I'm saying is there are times where there are things where I'm like, okay, I don't want to necessarily have a routine or a system. I think, and maybe this plays into the whole concept of the time management. Like, there's, I don't know. That's something to consider, because I oftentimes do feel overwhelmed with, like, I love, and I know this drives you nuts, I love it when, not 100% of the time, but most of the time, when we have something cancel and I get a free, like, there's no limitations on how I have to do it or what, it's just open free time, and I'm like, oh, thank you. need some breathe time. And sometimes it's like, I don't know, it's weird, but sometimes I enjoy not having a routine, and maybe that's a healthy thing to consider. And actually, yeah, because I think this was actually talked about in essentialism, like putting your phone down, taking it away, like, and that's like just not having anything but just time to yourself. And maybe obviously there's a lot of value in that, is just taking, being specific or intentional about having again, it is a routine time. Like, it's kind of weird, but it's taking time to not take time. But even in fishing, like, we have routines.
Yeah.
We have a routine for how we go fishing. Like, but there's a lot that, doesn't fall into routines. So take that all for what it's worth today. I'm glad that you guys could all hang out with me. There's so much, and I'm gonna dive more into this. Create some little routines. Make some. If you guys don't have Trello and you don't use Trello. It's always like I avoid it at some points in my life, but it always comes back to being like one of the most profound programs to just keep things like moving and to communicate. And I just wish that my wife would use it more. And
it's not a
I'm just kidding.
way to call her out on that, is it?
No, she's actually been really good about it. But she still calls me for little things that I'm in so much trouble.
Time to move on.
Anyway,
Michelle, I got you.
So, and yeah, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, you should probably just stop.
She's like, Sam's throwing his wife under the bus again. But she's actually done amazing at it. Honestly, she really has. Like, she's been doing really great. This morning, she just called me like 7 times for things, and that's why I said that. But that wasn't fair to her, because honestly, she has been doing really good. Like, all last week, she was really responsive of it. And so maybe I just suck.
Maybe.
That's probably what it is, though. Anyway.
You should probably be done.
I'm scared for my life.
You should probably be done.
I'm in trouble. Okay, that's all we got for today. Yeah. Anything else you want?
Peace out, Girl Scout. Let's end that.
Peace out, Girl Scout. Did that work?
It worked.
Did it?
You're good.
Oops. I might have done.
Now it's not working.
No, it's not working there. How about now? It didn't light up. That's why. Maybe you should respond faster in Trello. Shush.